What's CBN gonna do for me, man?
This is True Buzz, that Mary J. Now we ain't new to this. For my stoners and for my cannabis enthusiasts, never heard a show as good as this. Number one, it's the best. Bringing in many special guests in the industry of cannabis. Business owners to growers, even artists you know of. So sit back and just roll up. Perfect show for my smokers. True Buzz, hey.
Well. Welcome to the True Bud Show podcast. I'm just kicking it today. We're going to do a little tip of the iceberg talk on CBN. But before I do that, you might be watching this and looking at me like, dude, you look stoned and I'm feeling really good. Let me tell you why. So I had this, or I'm still sipping on it. You can see it's not all the way done, about 3/4 of the way down, a Not Your Father's root beer. But it's just not just that. It's not just the Not Your Father's. I added 2 of our Wonder Koan cordials in there that are precision calibrated cannabis. And so we're looking at about, in this drink, I've been sipping 30 milligrams of THC, not to mention the CBD and the added terpenes for that calibration aspect. And that's why I really love Koan, is the discreet portability. Throw in anything you want, just a nice drink additive to any of your favorite drinks. And that's a good way to kind of talk about this right now. So I had a meeting with our product formulator, Skylar, and we're coming out with our newest cordial, Sleep. Previously, right around Valentine's Day, we launched Love. So Sleep is awesome for so many reasons. When I'm in these stores, I get so many questions about, hey, is there a good sleep product? I'm like, we're coming out with one. Is going to be in a world of its own. And that's where I want to talk. I got some articles pulled off. Just want to talk about CBN for a moment, because in general, cannabinoids have been researched for quite a while, even in, way back 1800s, even into the 1900s, 1940s is really when a lot of this was happening. And I'll refer to this in a moment in some of these articles. And then the war on drugs hit. So what I think, though, in my head with all this, just CBN aside, just cannabis in general, is imagine if we've had 150 years of research right now. Like, we'd be in such a different place. Like, we're already in an amazing place. Like, I'm drinking a delicious root beer with a precision calibrated cordial in there, 2 of them. Like, that right there is pretty crazy in my mind. I couldn't even imagine if we'd been doing this for 100 more years, where we'd be at, and the science behind it and the results. It'd be pretty crazy. So CBN just in general is known to help sleep, help people calm down. And I guess we should talk about just CBN, how it's formulated, or kind of how it comes about. So CBN typically comes about when there is exposure to sunlight and oxidation. So naturally, outdoor plants are going to have slightly more CBN than an indoor plant, which is interesting because of the light. I don't know and I think it's probably due to the outside oxidation as well as how the sunlight hits it. But that's in general kind of how it comes about. So let me pull up a couple of these articles. So this is from Matt Oney in 2021, medically reviewed by Dr. Stephen Kim, MD. So I think this article is pretty legit. It does go on to pitch some CBD products at the end, so keep that in mind. It's obviously a little biased, but I feel like it's a quick, nice little overview of like what is CBN, just as it says here. For now, I'll assume that everyone reading this has at least heard of THC and CBD. Everybody listening, you guys probably have. These are 2 types of cannabinoids, which are compounds found in the cannabis plant. Well, another lesser known cannabinoid is called CBN, short for cannabinol, which is really only found in very small quantities. In practice, CBN is actually what results from our bodies metabolizing THC. It has this wonderful ability to put our body in a relaxed, drowsy state without that kind of psychoactive state. So you can get that sleep aspect, but not necessarily be high if you're somebody who doesn't like that THC delta 9 high. But wait, if cannabis doesn't contain much CBN in it, and not even get that CBN, your body needs to metabolize THC first. And how is this stuff even commercially available? And I think that's a very interesting point. And I'll talk to Skylar about that more, is like how does your body metabolize THC first to hit the CBN? And that's exactly what I was referring to when I'm talking about synergies between cannabinoids. So there's certain things about these cannabinoids that help each other react and build on each other and build the whole synthesis and aspect of the best case scenario. So you build all these together, and if you just have one, it's kind of like, that, I don't know. But wait, Just read that. Well, recently, CBN manufacturers have become far more skilled at actually producing it by exposing THC to extreme amounts of heat and light, which breaks it down and leaves them with CBN. This means we actually now able to benefit from CBN sleep benefits with ever having to consume THC. More on that in a bit. So he goes into a little bit, and then he goes into a kind of a little pitch there. And then we'll look at this article. CBN discovery could lead to new treatments for Alzheimer's research. More findings on the cannabinoid CBN could lead to the development of new treatment neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, says researchers. A new studies by scientists in the Salk Institute, California, suggest CBN the potential for treating age-related neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Derived from the cannabis plant, CBN is similar to THC, but it is not psychoactive and is less heavy regulated as bodies such as the FDA. Previously researched in the senior by Pamela Mayer, a research professor at the Leeds Salk Institute Neurobiology Lab, found that CBN has neuroprotective properties, but it wasn't clear how it worked. Now, these findings published in a journal, Free Radical Biology and Medicine, explain the mechanisms through which CBN protects brain cells from death and damage. We found that cannabinol protects neurons from oxidative stress and cell death, two of the major contributors to Alzheimer's, says Mayer. The discovery could one day lead to development of new therapeutics for treating this disease and other neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's disease. Mayer's team looked at the process of oxytocin, which is thought to occur in the aging brain, and which growing evidence suggests may be a cause of Alzheimer's disease. In this study, scientists treated nerve cells with CBN and then introduced an agent to stimulate oxidative damage. They found that the CBN worked by protecting mitochondria, the cell's powerhouse. Within neurons and damaged cells, oxidation caused the mitochondria to curl up like donuts, a change that's also been in aging cells taken from the brain's peoples in Alzheimer's disease. However, treating cells with CBN prevented the mitochondria from curling up and kept them functioning well. To confirm the interaction between CBN and mitochondria, researchers have replicated the experiment in nerve cells that had the mitochondria removed. In these cells, CBN no longer demonstrated the protective effect. Quote, Mayer said, "We were able to directly show maintenance of mitochondrial function, specifically required by perfectional effects compound." I messed up at the end there. I felt like I was reading really quick. Felt kind of good. But yeah, you can see there's other things besides sleep. That wasn't the article. I plan on pulling out up at the end. Let's see this. This is an article off MJ Biz Daily. The cannabinoid CBN might be cannabis industry surprise hit. This is August 31st, 2021. Andrew Long is the author. While Delta 8 is certainly still in the spotlight, CBN might be the just best sleeper cannabinoid on the market, blah, blah, blah. Over the past year, cannabis companies have been leveraging the compound's reputation as a sleep aid with growing success. Now, that right there is part of what I'm talking about. That's part of the problem, I think, is leveraging it as part of the business success. That's cool if you're actually formulating the product right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool if you're not just using it for a marketing ploy. So for instance, there's certain companies that put just trace amounts of CBN in their product and pitch it as a CBN sleep product. Now that is great marketing in a lot of ways. You know, it's like, cool, you did that, you know that, and it's actually working. However, on the back end, is it really formulated like that, or is it just a marketing ploy? That's what I wonder. That's what I'm excited to talk more in depth about. Let me continue through this article here. CBN was first discovered nearly a century ago. Over that period, companies have done little with CBN given the time-consuming process of producing the cannabinoid. But that is now changing thanks to the development of new production methods. And demand is climbing. Sales of products containing CBN, almost entirely edibles at this point, total more than 65 million in the past 4 quarters for adult use retailers in California, Colorado, Nevada, Oregon, and according to data provided by Seattle-based data analytics firm Headset and FloraWorks, an Oregon supplier of hemp-derived cannabinoids such as CBN, it should be no surprise California had the largest revenue for the 4 markets. Cheers. You get the basic gist of what I'm saying, and where it is that CBN is obviously has these effects, but we really need to dial it in. We need to figure out how all these work together. And that's where the entourage effect is super interesting naturally, but it's super interesting like scientifically, which is exactly what we're doing with Koan, is really producing that to a T and replicating it that's consistent every time, because these all needs to be studied. These all need, certain understandings of them, and that's where we've taken the sleep cordial. And once again, I'm going to have Skylar on and talk about this, but that's where we've taken this cordial and we've done testing And that's where I loved how he said this. He's like, I have the objective feedback, but subjective is just as important. You could look objectively, but if you ask the person subjectively, how was your sleep? And they say it wasn't that good, but the numbers say it was good, that can be misleading. That's why I'm happy that we've taken the extra step with this feedback and really diving into the nitty and gritty aspects of it, find the right formulation, because it's about the formulation for us. It's not a marketing ploy like I will say some of these other companies do. I'm not going to throw it out there right now because I've worked with a couple of them in the past, potentially. I'm just kidding. But I've done some videos on some of them in the past, and I get it. I get it. I truly do. From a marketing standpoint, you want that in there. And it's like the old, ham and garlic deal, as the way I think about a lot of things just in marketing in general. And if you haven't heard that, I'm probably going to butcher it because I never do the story quite right. But there's a grandma and her, she has her grandson there, and the dog has fleas and is sick. And she says, feed the dog some garlic. And he says, to get rid of the fleas. The fleas hate the smell. So when the dog starts sweating, the fleas will run away to the walls. The kid's like, okay. So he goes, gets his piece of garlic and tries to feed it to the dog. And it doesn't work. The dog backs up, of course, because the garlic is super potent to the dog. And then so the kid goes back in, the grandkid, to the grandma, says, Grandma, he didn't like it. He didn't eat the garlic. And she says, did you try to feed him the garlic by itself? And he says, yeah, you told me to give him the garlic. She said, no. Wrap the garlic in ham and then give it to him. So the grandkid runs back in, gets a piece of ham out, puts the garlic in it. The dog bites it right away, eats it all down. Later, the garlic's digesting, he's sweating, all the fleas run away. So basically, the whole thing of that story is that you need that enticing element. So somebody looking for sleep, you say CBN is that sleep, or it doesn't have to be CBN. It's anything in the world that is that enticing thing. But the how I look at that, that's a reality. That's the way it should be. You're enticing them, but you should also be giving them truth. So that's the way that I would function it. Whereas I feel like there's people that are enticing and not necessarily delivering on what they're saying. For instance, if you buy something that has 1 milligram of CBN in it, and you're eating an edible, like, is that really going to have that bioavailability for you? And does it really have that CBN in there if it's an edible or gummy? Has it been cooked down? Like, these are certain things I think about, and that's where it's like, to me, I understand certain marketing things like that is, I guess I'm just going around here, but it's like, we're not about that. Like, Koan actually, like, it's not a marketing thing. It's like an actual thing. Like, yeah, sure, sleep's a cool marketing aspect. People want sleep, but like, we've actually precisionally dialed this in. It's like, no, we calibrated it from our bunch of different batches we did to give you this. And that wasn't the best example with the ham and garlic thing, but that is, though, really important. That's what's helped me, like, a lot, honestly. That analogy, whenever I heard it years ago, has really helped me, because I think about that truly. Like, when I'm selling Koan, when I'm selling anything, is like, I truly know and I truly believe, like, this can help your store. This can help your delivery service. This Koan cordial can help separate you from the competition, because you're providing a precision calibrated experience to people who need that. And I get behind that. So that's where people, I feel like, can really tell that when they're talking to me. Like, I truly believe in this, and I will truly, like, want to help you make your place better. I want to make your store better. I want to help your customers be happier. Like, that's where it's all coming from, is a place like that. And maybe sometimes I need to have different pitches to.
This is True Buzz, that Mary J. Now we ain't new to this. For my stoners and for my cannabis enthusiasts, never heard a show as good as this. Number one, it's the best. Bringing in many special guests in the industry of cannabis. Business owners to growers, even artists you know of. So sit back and just roll up. Perfect show for my smokers. True Buzz, hey.